Hello, souls and demons, and welcome back to the show. I hope you're having a wonderful week so far. As for me, well, I have a story to bring to your attention. This one is called I Think I Saw Someone Bury a Human Head, written by LeeofAlexandria. If you've been enjoying the show, whether it's on the podcast or on YouTube, interacting with the videos by liking and commenting and things like that do help a lot as far as the algorithm is concerned. So if you enjoy the stuff, then let me know. And with that, sit back, grip your seats, and enjoy the show. For context and posterity, the current date is October 7th, 2021. I'm bringing you back to the year 1999. Over 20 years in the past, back when cell phones meant nothing. The world thought an imminent Armageddon was coming on the night of December 31st at midnight. I was 16 years old. What I saw one cold October night is as fresh to me then as it is now. Bear with me as I set the stage for you all. I grew up in a remote area of the Midwest. My home was on a hill all by its lonesome, surrounded by farmland on 3 sides, and endless acres of woods after the fields of wheat, corn, or whatever we planted that season. The woods were dense and foreboding. We would not be out there after dark. A lonely 2-lane road was the only way in or out of our place. Old County Road 577 it was called. An amazing thing happened right around my 16th birthday. The internet. We had a computer already, maybe for a few years or so. This was huge in my little area of the world. We didn't have much money, but I think my parents could foresee how important a PC would be for me and my brothers. They barely used it. But man, we were off to the races. I guess it must have been a Dell or Gateway, which were huge back then. Windows 95 was the operating system. For anyone born in my generation, just remember when that Windows Brick Maze screensaver came on. The nostalgia is strong with that one. To the newer folks in the Gen Z crowd, just having a computer at all was a thrill. The internet wasn't a thought just quite yet. Not to us normal people at least. We had quite enough fun just playing PC games, typing silly stories and using MS Paint. If you had a printer, you could also make those giant banners with the clip art and funny fonts. I remember making a banner that said Broncos because I was rooting for them to win one of the Super Bowls around that time. Every letter took up 1 page. Those 7 letters drained our printer of ink. Different times. I might be getting off topic. Sorry. I was just drowning in the late 90s feels. I guess the point I'm getting at is that being in that era of owning the tuned-up PCs was awesome. These weren't your 1980s computers that ran one program. They were easy to learn and could do many things. The internet, however, changed everything. Yes, understatement of the century, I know. Another interesting thing is that we grew up without the finely tuned and polished search engines we have today. You didn't Google anything. You couldn't type in sports in Yahoo or whatever. Yes, the search engines were very soon to come. The ones you could use were very shoddy and hard to find anything. Not like the complete ease we enjoy today. My dad changed our entire living room around the computer. He built a computer desk with plenty of shelves and perfectly sized cutouts for the computer, monitor, sliding drawer for the keyboard, etc. He also installed a sliding glass door close to where the computer was. So while playing one of the earliest point-and-click PC games, we can enjoy the vast outdoor landscape and have an easy exit from the home to take a leak. Hey, our nearest neighbor was over 2 miles away, and there were 4 of us boys in the home. The first time we tried getting online was painful. The only internet provider in the time was just as new as this as anyone. We sat and listened to that now iconic dial-up dubstep tone, hoping for magic. We got nothing. We tried for weeks to get connected. We didn't know what we were missing. It's not like now if your internet goes down, you know. But once we got on, man, it was on. The rest is history. Here I was staying up late at night surfing the web, finding websites that was accessing me information from around the world, and here at home in the US. Back then, you might see a commercial on Saturday morning telling you to join them on the World Wide Web and provide their address. Like I said, you pretty much had to have the URL correct to find things. If there was a sports show on, they might tell you to go to the Sports Illustrated site for kids and provide that long URL. Now, we all know you could just Google SI Kids or something like that and find it in 0.0001 seconds. Being connected felt great. Where I lived was vast, unforgiving, and kind of lonely. The worst thing that no one talked about was that it was just plain creepy. There was no artificial light after dark. There were no streetlights after dark up where I lived. The long country road was empty at night. When a car did travel up that road, I usually just stayed in my room. I hated seeing the reflection of their headlights slowly light up my upstairs window. No one should be on that road that late. Maybe besides truck drivers. But even then, we were so out of the way of any major city or freeway. There shouldn't even be commercial drivers out there. I know you're probably confused by what the hell all this rambling is getting to. It's all related. The advent of the internet to my daily life as a young man brought with it a renewed interest in scary stories, movies, and the like. I already loved renting horror movies from town about 20 minutes away when I could. I rented scary books from the library. My friends and I made up our own urban legends for fun. Now, I could access horror movie lore, serial killer stories, and anything my little teenage brain could think of. Being in such a secluded area, this didn't exactly help my anxiety about my scary surroundings. Sitting at that computer with the giant sliding door to my right, I only saw darkness. We didn't have any curtains yet at that time. One night at around 1 a.m., if I had to guess, I saw something I think about almost every day of my life. I can't explain it, and I am still terrified of it. I was online, by myself. Everyone else was asleep. I was probably playing a flash game or looking up sports stats. I heard the low rumble of a vehicle coming in the distance. That always got me on high alert, as I've mentioned. I could get a sense of the vehicle coming and just hoped it would pass by the sliding door without any kind of incident. There was an incident. A small red pickup truck, maybe a Ford Ranger, skidded off the road maybe 100 or so yards from our house. I was looking at the rear of the vehicle. I quickly shut the living room light off and the computer monitor. I just knew this wasn't going to be good. I huddled close to the window, trying to hide as much of myself as I could. Realistically, I'm sure no one could see me from that far away, but I could see them. 2 men busted out of the truck. The driver was a burly man. He wore a plaid long sleeve and a puffy vest over it. Typical looking northern hillbilly. He quickly moved to the passenger side, yanking the door open. He could have ripped the door off the hinges with the force he used. He grabbed a smaller man out of the truck by his collar and tossed him to the ground. At this point, my little heart was racing. The passenger was clearly the inferior man in the duo. The driver threw open the tailgate and grabbed a shovel. He tossed it to the passenger, hitting him in the hands. As the shovel fell to the ground, the passenger looked terrified. The driver grabbed what looked like a burlap sack out of the back. He tossed it to the passenger forcefully, but this time, the smaller guy caught it. Even from this distance, I could see the look on the inferior man's face. His eyes were wide. He was probably crying with snot coming down from his nose. His expression said, "Please don't do this." He was pleading, with exaggerated hand movements. He seemed to plead for some time. "Please don't make me do this," is what he was conveying. The burly man pointed at the ground. I couldn't make out what he was saying, but it seemed like he was saying dig. The passenger reluctantly started digging. After 5 to 10 minutes, the burly man stopped his partner and pointed at the burlap sack that now sat on the ground. He then pointed at the ground. The now defeated digger kicked the sack into the fresh hole in the ground. He then pointed at the ground. The now defeated digger kicked the sack into the fresh hole. The sack looked like it could hold a bowling ball or a human head. That's all I could think of. I'm watching someone bury a human head on our property. The man with the shovel buried the head, or sack, filling up the hole with the dirt he just excavated. The driver grabbed the man, pushing him back into the truck. He threw the shovel in the back of the pickup and sped off. After what seemed like an eternity, I took a huge breath, realizing I probably have been holding it in for the entire transaction. Gasping for air, I ran up to my room on the second floor of our house. I was dripping with sweat. I didn't even realize how terrified I was. Did they see me? Why did they choose to stop right there, by one of the only houses within miles? I hope I was just overreacting. But what the hell else could these random guys be burying at this time of night? I remember it being cold. Probably not winter because the ground would have been frozen. But it was not pleasant out. What drove these guys out here? I didn't want to know. I've only told this story to a few people, and they all asked the same question. Did you go see what it was the next day? The answer is simple. Hell no. I didn't have the stones to look. That curiosity has always stayed with me. I couldn't say for sure who these guys were. Nothing like this has happened before or after. I won't say the cliche thing of like it haunts me every single day or anything, but I do think about it often. I think the worst part is a few days after this happened, I saw a dirt-covered shovel in our barn. A small amount of what looked like dry blood dotted the tip of the shovel. I never mentioned this, but my dad never allowed us to enter the barn. He said it wasn't safe. I shouldn't have seen what happened, and I shouldn't have gone into the barn. I can't question my dad, he died a long time ago. Even worse is that my dad did own a small pickup truck at the time. I never put it together until much later. Maybe it's all a huge coincidence. My dad was a good man. He was a simple farmer. We were able to afford luxuries that most farm folk couldn't, though, like expensive computers and internet access before anyone else. Just a coincidence, right?